kind of pattern here, but I just feel like I'm needed to say something tonight. This is random, and it's we just came through elections. We've got the announcement of Donald Trump again, and if you've been watching me for a while, that's something that kind of inspired me to get on the mic and start yelling and screaming was Donald Trump. And so he's coming back on the scene, and you have at the same time these Republicans trying to distance themselves from him. And you see them trying to pivot away, and I just want to go back and look at some of those videos that I did and just remember the lockstep that these guys were doing in support of Donald Trump at the time, knowing full well what was coming their way. Lindsey Graham predicted it. He said, "Hey, if we support Trump, we're going to lose. We're going to eventually, it's going to screw us." They all talked about how bad he was, and now he's coming back on the scene. They're trying to distance themselves, and I don't think they should be able to distance themselves. I think they should have him around their neck, like an albatross around their neck, and everything they do, they should be reminded of their support for Trump. Because let me tell you, I won't forget the lockstep that they did in the craziness of his support of going to trying to get Ukraine to dig up dirt, all the political kind of influence that he was kind of peddling or requesting from foreign governments, all that shit. They were like, all right, look the other way. They were getting their judges, they were doing their thing, and now they want to walk away from him, and they're trying to distance, and they kind of want to see him lose, I think. And they're talking about having you know, making all these rules and having all these things to block his nomination in the behind the scenes. The problem is there's no way. There's no way they should be able to separate. In fact, they just elected the number one supporter, the Speaker of the House during Trump's term. I mean, he just got reelected. So Kevin McCarthy's celebrating right now because he's elected. But we're looking at the same playbook from the Republicans. The only thing they don't have is Trump, and he's lining up to run again. And they're going to try to distance themselves. And I don't think we should allow it. I think that every single time one of them gets on a Sunday show, they should be asked about, played a clip of their support for some crazy bullshit that Trump was doing, and then made to explain why their judgment was so bad when so many people talked about this person, talked about how flawed they were, and yet you continued to support him. And so this party's now making a pivot. And so, one of the things that's really kind of why I wanted to get on and talk about this is because you've got this billionaire stepping in, sucking the oxygen out of the air. You've got Elon Musk messing with Twitter, which Twitter originally was a platform that was supposed to allow people free speech and all this stuff. It was part of the Islamic Spring that happened, and it was a tool that was used amongst activists to communicate during where the police were, where protests were going on, and so forth and so on. And so you have these billionaires coming in and just mucking up the system, mucking it up. I mean, you have Trump coming in saying, you know what? Despite the fact that I'm under indictment with like what 24 lawsuits, real things, the DOJ, the United States government coming after him for hiding nuclear secrets in his personal residence after they requested them back. We have this guy now signing up to run again. We have the Republican Party lining up to say, hey, this guy's crazy. We told you he was crazy before. You don't get to walk away from that, Kevin McCarthy. The fact that they elected Kevin McCarthy and didn't pick somebody else also tells me they haven't learned anything. They're talking about how, I saw on my Instagram these representatives talking about how Democrats need to start passing, you know, less pro criminal laws. So their pivot right now, despite this fact that there was no red wave, despite the fact that they supported Trump, despite the fact that almost all of Trump's folks lost and they allowed that to happen by continuing to support him, despite the fact that they did all that, despite the fact that they reelected the same gentleman who led their party in support of Trump, talked shit on him, said he was probably the only person besides the Rohrabacher out in California that was getting paid by Putin. Talk shit. Now, all of a sudden, he's Speaker of the House again. So we're looking at the same folks. Sure, not all the Trumpers lost. Not all the Trumpers lost, but a lot of them did. Mo Brooks is now trying to back away from Trump, but he was basically fellatio, filleting him every day. And I'm sorry about the reference, but I'm telling you, this frustrates me on several reasons for several reasons. First of all, these billionaires coming in just walking around as if they're, above the law. Elon Musk always kind of inflating his stock prices with tweets and doing games and fighting the SEC. And he's got more money. He can just sit back and let his army of attorneys go after him. All this is the reason I kind of was sitting here getting all wound up and started out calm was because that's enough to tell you that these people need to be taxed. There's no reason a single person should be able to manipulate the economy, manipulate a government, or have that much power. And people say, oh, government's too big. You don't want government, you don't want one person kind of overriding everything that we stand for. And so you've got these two people that have more money than God, kind of doing what they want. And of course, Trump, despite the fact that he's under investigation, you have these supporters. All this being said, every single time I go and I hear the parties are the same, I just think of this whole scenario. I think about the politics of how everybody has to be on their team and support their tribe. But then you look at the whole swath of this bullshit muck that the Republicans have basically created around themselves. Self-fulfilling prophecy, by the way, knowing full well where it would lead. They knew where it would lead, and they continued to support it despite this. Knowing in back doors, talking behind the scenes how it's going to be a disaster, how he's a loser, and basically they have to kiss his ass to do whatever they need. But they knew it, and now they want to walk away from it. You got him announcing above the law. You got Elon Musk. You've got Bezos coming out because he saw three ghosts given about 150 billion. I mean, these guys are taking over our news, the news. So the world is now about what these guys are going to do, how they're going to move. And so we have this whole system that's fucking built around this, like this ideal, this idolatry or whatever the word is. I'm stumbling because I'm kind of so frustrated thinking about the fact that it's so simple to me that we have to make it so that a few people can't manipulate that, the entire global economy in many ways. So, we have to make it so that politicians aren't bought and paid by these people, by the way. So it, it's just, I've been thinking about how I want to come back on live and what I want to talk about. And now I have a studio, and, there's still this frustration of like, I don't think it's fair to walk away. I think there should still be consequences to this Republican Party. I think there should be, and consequences of, Kevin McCarthy shouldn't be Speaker of the House because, or if he is, they should be tied to their past. And we're so inclined to forget. I mean, even when you talk about what Hillary Clinton went through compared to what Donald Trump's going through. She sat in front, she answered the question, she showed up for the subpoena. He's ignoring a subpoena. He announced he was going to run for president a couple days after he ignored a subpoena from them. I mean, we have these folks that, just are above the law and they're just taking the oxygen out of the air. And trust me, I'm not on CNN or MSNBC or watching the dumb shit. Still on Twitter reading it. I haven't posted anything on Twitter for ages. But, you see this stuff and you're like, you see how the media kind of just continues to create that swell around these folks because the clicks, they get the clicks, they get the ad buys because, and Trump, quite frankly, is going to generate a lot of money for the media, and they know that. And they're going to create that story. That's why they created the false story of the red wave when they knew polling didn't show that. Even McConnell was quiet and mum the whole time, knowing full well that his real pollsters were saying the otherwise, while his party ran around and lied. So you have one party that's literally doing whatever they can to do to keep power, and then you have other people fighting for, what you guys want to call socialism. And of course, both are going, blood battle at it, whatever you want to call it. And so people want to lump the parties into this, oh, they're the same. And I'm hearing a lot of that. I'm hearing this kind of stuff in my feed, and I'm just going, what the fuck? Just look at the big picture of how we got here and how we have these folks walking away now saying, hey, Trump's crazy. Oh, he's announcing. It's just wacky. But yet, 74 million people voted for this person, and you guys supported it only to keep power, not to even suggest that you have a plan. Remember, I talked about this before. There's no agenda. There's make sure we don't get taxes, theft, and everything else, free market, deregulate everything, and fend for yourself. Privatize every single thing so that Wall Street can take their cut. And this is their agenda long term, but they don't talk about that. They play the game, and then everyone says, "Oh, the parties are the same." But look where the end games are. Look where we are now. Look what kind of muck we're in. I've never seen the Democrats sit in a muck where they're like, all right, we've got to completely run away from an ex-president, as if they're maybe Jimmy Carter possibly for a couple years. But I mean, this guy's going to be, the albatross that should hang around their neck. And I'm not going to, while I hesitate to even continue to talk about Trump, the fact is that era should not be forgotten. And the people that are still in Congress that represented his views and supported him and championed his bullshit should be reminded daily in every single interview they are ever at about what their position was or why they did whatever they did during that time. Selectively we're going to forget about it, but uh you're seeing this kind of pivot, and now there's this, there wasn't a red wave, but now there's this kind of feeling of victory for the Republicans because they did win the House. And and you see who's the media is kind of creating this center, this kind of as John Stewart said, it's like the little kid that's little watching little kids play soccer. They're running around, and they're all kind of coagulating around the ball, and that's what's happening. They're all coagulating around this Trump story, around this around these people that have a lot of influence, a lot of capital. And so that generates the clicks because everyone's looking up, thinking maybe possibly that's going to be me or whatever. I don't know why we support this, but it's so crazy to me. And I'm not coming out as some socialist. I'm just saying it just doesn't make sense to me that we have a system where where these people just skirt the laws that you and I would be, obligated to follow, because we don't have the resources. So, that lends into the things that I do want to talk about, which are justice and how things work, and really what it comes down to is how much money you have and who you can buy and who you can influence. And it's about networking, connections, and all that shit, as opposed to even thinking that it's about real justice. And so that's what I want to start talking about. It's like, who do you know? What can you do for me? I mean, we're still on kind of this weird, hey, if you have resources, you can essentially bribe or pay your way out of things. And so, I want to start talking about that. And so, of course, the focus is going to be on these folks that have unlimited resources and can just skirt the law, will never sit in prison. I mean, they could buy the prison company since it's private, right? It's a private prison company. I mean, if it's federal, sure. But I mean, think about that. You could actually since prisons are private, you could have enough money to buy the prison that you're going to be in, and then just do whatever you want because I mean, it's your home. I mean, why not? So, I mean, I'm all over the place, but I just kind of had to vent for where I'm going. And what frustrates me right now is looking up at where things are focused, as opposed to the shitstorm that we have with the climate, the shitstorm that we have with even homelessness. You know, it's just kind of got me going. So anyway, I'm not going to ramble too much more. I was just kind of freelance. I'm not in the studio, but I'm in my home, and I just figured I'd get on here. I need to start getting on here, honestly, just sharing myself, because I was kind of watching some of the videos I was doing before, and I get pretty crazy and open, and I like it, but it's also pretty makes me vulnerable, and that's kind of hard to watch, especially because I know it was real, real vulnerability. So, but I need to get on here more, as I see other folks that are growing their community or even wanting to be a trusted source. You have to kind of have a medium to share, and I struggle, when I fall into my spots where I'm focused on whatever I'm focused, hyper focused. I struggle to kind of emote. So, and then anger's easy, but other things are difficult, and I need to be more, so that's why I wanted to get on too, is I wanted to share with you guys my brain processing right now, my frustration, and then also talk about this is going to happen periodically. And mostly I was talking to my wife about the fact that I just need to do it. I was doing lives, and some of them were shitty, some were bad. Even after a long day, I got to get on here, and it's 12 o'clock. No one's watching, but I can't tell who's watching, by the way. So I don't know if I'm going to delete. I probably won't delete it, but anyway, hopefully you get the point of what I wanted to get on for, and that was to talk about this frustration with these billionaires and the Trump and the Republicans kind of walking away from this, notion that they actually had nothing to do with either. In fact, Elon Musk buying Twitter, I'm telling you, the reason I said Elon Musk is because they're linked. He bought Twitter and said, "Hey, by the way, vote Republican." I mean, blasted that out to 150 whatever 400 million people on Twitter. So, free advertising for the Republicans. So, when people want to think about conspiracy theories, what they really need to look at is there's a reality that's even probably worse, and that's that, we have a system that's visibly fucked up, where these people that have all the capital can do whatever the hell they want, and there's no justice for them. And so, they can buy lawmakers and do everything else, and then you have them kind of announcing it at whim. I'm going to buy this company. I'm going to announce one for president. And we just kind of the media just kind of swarms around it, and we kind of forget. Oh wow, we get caught up in the cult personality. And so, one thing right now with bashing Elon Musk is, I'm not saying Twitter's going to fail at this point. I think he's doing stupid things, but it's too early. These people have so much resources. I mean, why not drive the stock down and make sentiment low and then come out a hero? Why not? If I was the richest person in the world and you had that much money, why not make the sentiment of the world, hey, look, I'm failing miserably, but I really, kind of have something going on, and I know what I'm doing. I'm going to rip this thing apart and sell it in its pieces for more. And whatever he's doing, I'm saying that I don't discount it. So they have resources, and they have brains and attorneys and things that you and I don't have, which makes them bigger than most governments. And so that's the larger point that I'm making. So if you can put any continuity in this one, great. That's fantastic. But I just figured I'd get on. Oh wow, there's one person watching. Thanks for watching. Anyway, keep an eye out for these people and make sure you look. I will say a shout out to a friend of mine who um, changed his mind about a person that we elected. So Fetterman, he was like slamming Fetterman, changed his mind. So look, minds change. People are like, oh, things don't change on Facebook, on social media. Well, you know what? That's bullshit, because I have many, many instances of people actually changing their minds. So there's a reason for all this madness eventually, but I thought that I wanted to give that person a shout out. Grant, thank you. So anyway, that's all I got. I'll check you guys out this week, and I'll probably get on here pissed off about Trump, as long as, every single fucking news place has him front and center. And I'm digging, trying to find and you got to tie these people to him, and it's like, here he is again, sucking up the limelight, and it's going to become political if you attack him or indict him, because now he's running for president, he's running a campaign, and ugh, exhausting. Anyway, there's my there's my stream of consciousness for you. Peace.